everyone. Happy Friday. This is Steph Lee, the founder of Host Agency Reviews. You are tuning in for the Friday 15. And that means every Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time, your lunch hour, we go ahead and answer the questions you have submitted. And if you're wondering how to submit questions, it's very easy. You go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 and click on the Submit a Question button. So just think, you could have your very own question on the show. How neat is that? So for those that are watching on YouTube, we have two guests on today, which is very exciting. So we have April Swales back from Uniglobe Travel Center. Hello, April.
Hi, how are you?
Great to have you here. And then we have Shayna Zand from Host Agency Reviews. If you haven't met her before, she is our new managing director and killing it. Hello, Shayna.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. And thanks for letting me third wheel. I love it.
We love having a third wheel.
We love having bigger parties here at Friday 15, so we're glad you could join us.
Me too.
So let's see. I would like to let everybody know that we will be launching our employee report, our research report soon. We will drop the link if it is ready. Abby will in the comments. But the employee report, so for those that don't know, we do 3 research reports a year from our annual survey, which will be starting next month, by the way. But we do a hosted advisor report, we do an independently accredited advisor report, and then we do the employee report. So if you are an agency or you are an employee, it's a nice way to kind of see the benchmarks of what are people, how much are people paying their employees? What kind of roles do their employees do? Do they offer benefits? What benefits they're offering? Lots of different information in there. And what's really neat is between all these different, between hosted, indie, and employees, it's really neat when you look at the data because it can be quite different. So for instance, with the employees, the media, the travel media that they read is very different from what you find with a hosted or an independent. So there's lots of, it's really cool to be able to compare them. So again, that will be coming out soon. If you're already subscribed to our newsletter list, you will get the newsletter with it coming out. And if you haven't, you can go to hostagencyreviews.com/newsletter to sign up. So let's get into our questions for today.
Okay.
So our first one comes from Sara R. Sarah says, do you have a good system for organizing all your travel BDM contacts and the promotional materials for the different properties? I get overwhelmed with paper and business cards and even online and notes. I still can't seem to get a system in place for everything I receive. I'm only laughing, Sarah, because I have the exact same problem. So I'm curious what everyone will say. So April, let's start with you. You seem organized.
No, well, let me just tell you, I'm laughing. As soon as you said that, I glanced over, and on the windowsill across from me is a stack of business cards about this tall from the last conference that I went to that I still have not gone in and organized. So Sarah, trust me, you're in good company. We all can, we can sympathize. So Steph, I took your suggestion. I talked to a few of our advisors and asked their opinions on how they organize. And I'm happy to say that I came up with some really good tools and links that I'm going to share that you are welcome to share with everyone as well. So the first thing that I heard multiple times was spreadsheets. Everybody loves a spreadsheet, and whether you use Google Sheets or Excel really doesn't matter. They both pretty much function the same way. But figure out which information you really need to be tracking in order for it to be relevant for you. For instance, which part of the world, right, this particular supplier serves. And then is it a luxury product? Is it a premium product? Is it a budget product? You have to kind of decide. This will help you easily to keep track of everything, because you can have tabs on a spreadsheet that'll say, all right, these are all my Italy people, or these are all my cruise people. And then you can break them down that way. But only you can really decide which way you want to organize that. One of the things that I found, I loved YouTube. I don't know if you guys go to YouTube to learn stuff. I feel like I should buy stock in YouTube. And I found a couple of different presenters on YouTube that really had some great content. One is called the Business Development School. It's just the BD School. And again, I'll provide you with the link to their page. And then CEO Entrepreneur. the reason I like both of these guys is they cater to small businesses and they talk about systems and processes for small businesses. And that's kind of information I feel like could go across the board for any business. You know, for the most part, I'm pretty organized, but you know, again, that stack of business cards across the room would suggest that there's definite room for improvement. So I dug into some of their content and it really is good. And the business development school guy, I think he's in the Netherlands, the other guy's in the UK. So not hard to like, there's, you know, they both speak really, really strong English. So you don't have to worry about, sometimes I watch these videos and I have to rewatch them or turn the captions on because the accent is really hard for me to understand. But these two guys were really easy. And then there's another resource that I've probably mentioned before called score.org that has all kinds of different business mentorship opportunities. But my favorite tool is simply a good, solid CRM, because you can put any contacts into a CRM. You can put notes, you can put emails, you can put phone numbers, you can put addresses, anything you want to put into a good CRM you can use. TravelJoy, Travify, I say those all the time. They're wonderful. Turn, Vacation CRM. There's so many different ones out there to be able to do what it is you're wanting to do. But you just have to take that front end time. And then once you get it all set up, you're just going in and making adjustments, really.
Yeah. And the CRMs, if people aren't familiar with them, we'll link to our travel agency software list in the CRM category so that you can take a look. You can see who the players are, read reviews, get a lot more information on the companies within there. But those are some great tips, April. And I love that you have a stack of cards you haven't processed yet, because do you know what my problem is? I found a huge stack of ones I'd inputted into my phone already. Like I have. Right. So my tip would be to get a really good app on your phone. I think the one I use is called CamCard.
That's what I'm actually pulling up right now. I was like, I need to show them this. So So Blink is and I'll show it, but Blink, BLINQ. So Blink is a tool. It's a free tool that I basically uploaded all of my business contact information that would be on my business card. And this acts as my business card whenever I go to conferences. And so anybody can download the QR code on their phone. And then what I love about this is that this app doesn't just dump the contact into your Apple contacts, which makes them hard to find later, right? If you don't remember everything. It creates a separate contact list that stays in the app. So then I can go and say, okay, Sam Jones with the Stafford London, I have his email address. I have his physical address. I mean, business address, of course. It shows when we met. And I can go in there and I can add notes to it. So
can you add tags and everything in there too
let me see, more actions. I can download it. I can share it, but it doesn't show that I can add a tag to it. But I think it alphabetizes them, maybe. Information. I don't know. And I use a free version. So maybe if there's a paid version, you can. I don't know. But I have been loving this app. So, and I don't like to carry business cards. I should say this. It's not that I don't like to. It's that I always forget to. So let's be honest.
I love that.
Keep up with them. They always end up in the garbage, right? So.
Yeah, essentially what happens with the business cards I get is I scan them on my phone. It pulls the information within CamCard, and then I recycle all the business cards, except for I only recently started to recycle them because I was nervous for some reason that they would get deleted. And so I had like this huge stack of business cards. And I was like, why am I keeping this? This is just hoarding at this point, Stephanie.
Yeah, it's true. At least with the business cards, I feel like Blink does a great job of organizing that. But as far as the rest of the information, I mean, if you wanted to go in and add that to a contact in your app, you could. But I'm still a fan of the spreadsheet, and I'm still a fan of the CRM. So,
one other tip I'll give about like the business cards app. So one thing that I have trouble, if you go to a lot of events, you know, they start to blur together, and you're like, where did I meet them at? It was in Las Vegas, and that's all I remember. Or so within CamCard, for me, I have different tags. Like I'll name the event and then the year, separately so that way I can, if I knew it was in 2024 for some reason, I'll name if it's a supplier, if it's a technology, if it's an advisor, what niche they're in. So that way I can pull all the information. And I always do it on the plane ride home because otherwise I never get to it and I never do it. So Shayna, do you have any tips, ideas on organizing? You are very organized. I'm excited.
I'm a bit of an organizational freak in the best way.
I wish I was.
Like my desktop has nothing on it. It has one folder that's just called personal use. And that's just things that I consistently like, headshots have to attach to an email. So I am a big fan of a CRM. I love a good spreadsheet, don't get me wrong. But what I love about a CRM is that you can create those parameters. So like, Steph talking about, okay, like what events did I meet them at? I also use that to determine what events should I go to in the future, right? Because I can run that information. With a CRM, it's easy to take all that information and put it into a very simple chart to see what who you're meeting, what's happening there. What I also love is in a CRM, whichever one you choose to use. And there are lots of free ones out there. There are lots, especially if you're a very small business too. But what I love about them is I love the ability to track, like if you're talking to your BDMs, all your emails can automatically be tracked in there. So all of your conversations. So if anyone is taking over for you, or if your staff want to see everything that have, any of your other advisors want to see anything that's gone on with, Celebrity Cruises or with Silver Sea or whoever you're speaking to, they can see every single thing that's happened between you and that BDM or you and that representative. So I love a CRM just because there's so many aspects to it. And then there's reporting that can come directly out of it. That can, again, it's kind of like what April said. It takes a minute to set it up, but then once it's set up, it runs nice and smoothly. And you can always add parameters. So other things that you would want to track as well as you go and as you learn about what else you want to continually know. So I'm a CRM fan and an organizational freak.
Me too. And you brought up a good point about the tracking of the conversations. Like that's a huge part of what a CRM does for clients, but absolutely that can be, parlayed into your BDM, relationships as well. I think that's a really smart way to look at it. And, Steph, with the cam card, I wrote that down because I'm going to look into it. For me, if I can't add tags, but you can with cam card, like then you're talking about like with tags, you can segment and you can then make your organization even better.
It really helps because I'll remember certain things. And then like in the notes field on it, because I'll usually, when I get a business card, I'll write something down to help me like jog my memory about that person. And so I'll write that information in there. It's been really helpful. One of the things we didn't chat on, though, that I think is a real challenge for advisors is how do you organize that promotional material? Because, you get a zillion different emails and you want to remember all the specials and the promo codes. Did your advisors give you any tips on that, April?
Well, so yes and no. Some of them were just like, I can't possibly keep up with all of it. So they just, only the ones that like, when they have a client that like jumps into their head immediately that it would be good for, do they really worry about paying a lot of attention to it? But when it comes to like the promotional content, obviously you have your handful of suppliers that you're going to work with. You're never going to work with all of them. There's just no possible way. But if you see something that looks really great, like when Alaska was opening back up after COVID, they had a ton of great promotional content out there. And, whenever you go in, I would say, look at the terms and conditions really quickly first before you start trying to blast it out on social media.
Yeah.
Make sure it's actually going to fit somebody. But look through it. And if it really looks like a great deal, then, maybe it's something that you could, I don't know, maybe keep. That could be a good spreadsheet item, because the thing is that with CRM stuff, it's not, promotional content isn't going to be something you're going to want to keep on hand long term because it expires. So that might be a good spreadsheet scenario. And that would be a task that I would look at every single week, because that stuff comes and goes so quickly. What I like to do on a Monday morning is I set aside 2 hours. like my kid goes to school at 7. So between 7 and 9, all I do is just get ready for the entire week with all of my tasks and emails. That's when I would be updating a spreadsheet on any sort of promotional content if I was following that.
That's perfect. Next week, we do have a question that's very similar to this. So if you want more tips, tune in for next week because we'll have more ideas that we will throw out there.
And a different perspective. So that's
and
good.
A different perspective. Yeah, I'm really excited because I think the other thing to take away from this, Sarah, is that it's something everybody struggles with and there is no perfect solution to it. So I think you're always going to feel overwhelmed and that there's a zillion of them because there's just, in this tech age, there is just information overload because it's so easy to produce these things, and especially with AI. But maybe there's something like in the next year that might come out with AI that can read your emails, put them in folders for you, do all that sort of stuff. So maybe hope's on the horizon, or maybe it's not hope and it's going to be destruction. Who knows?
Yeah. I feel like that already exists. I think I was at a conference where they talked about how there were 10,000 new AI companies that were registering in the US every single month.
Oh my gosh.
Every month?
Yeah, it's
Holy
the way one of my friends puts it, because he works in AI, and he said he's like, if you think it's out there, it's out there. So if there's something you want to look for, it's out there.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of finding it. But he said it's out there. So
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I didn't try it out because I didn't have time, but I did ask AI if it could write me a script to go through my emails, to do that, and to put them in an Excel sheet. And it did write one. I don't know if it works. So if anyone has a lot of time and wants to like mess a little bit with coding and tweak it so it probably works, you can try it out because there is a way to do it. If you're in Google Workspace, it was able to do that and put it in the spreadsheet.
Google Workspace is a great
Mm-hmm.
So.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, let's see. Next question. Boom, boom, boom. Is from Anonymous. They say, I am an IC with about 2 years in business. I'm considered going out on my own because I'm not happy with my situation for many reasons. First question is, how do you know it's the right time to make a change, like to go independent if you're going to? And then 2, what do you see as the pros and cons of staying as an IC or an independent contractor or going independently on your own? So before I ask you, April, I just want to clarify for everyone that's listening, because I know there's some newbies out there. So when we say IC, that means they're an independent contractor for a host agency. And when we're talking about going independent, that means that you're not going to be using a host agency's accreditation anymore. You're going to be getting your own accreditation. And so the bookings aren't going to be going through a host agency anymore. They're going to be directly accredited to you. So, April, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my first initial thought was that in terms of timing, like I would say the timing is any time that you start to think that you need to make a change. But then at that point, start doing your homework to figure out, the pros and cons, because there's benefits and to each scenario. I tell people there's no real right way to go into the travel industry. There's just a lot of different ones. And so as a hosted advisor, you have access to a network of other advisors. You have access to supplier relationships that are already established. You have access to the agency credentials. But above and beyond those basic things, all the host agencies that are out there, we really kind of do things our own way in terms of the various services that we provide and things like that ongoing. So if you've only been in business for 2 years, I could be wrong, but I would suspect that you maybe have only been with one host. And if that host scenario doesn't fit you any longer, because it's possible that it did in the beginning and maybe things have changed for you, I would first suggest maybe starting to look into other host agencies, because somebody who's been in business for just a couple of years, you probably don't yet have the network behind you, the relationships behind you to make that jump. And it's not that it's not possible, but it's going to be a lot harder without those relationships. When you go out and establish your own, IATON credentials and you start booking, when you do that, supplier partners are going to be looking at your sales volume, just yours. And when you're part of a host agency, they're looking at the collective sales volume of everyone. So that speeds things up a little bit. It allows you to have access to more amenities for you, more amenities for your clients, because there is that strength in the volume that's already there. But that would be my suggestion, is starting to look at other host agencies before you make that leap. And then if you really, truly want to make that leap to being independent after you've looked at other host agency options, make sure that you talk to an attorney to understand exactly what you need to do to set your business up for success. There's a handful of travel attorneys in the country that do a wonderful job of guiding people on their business setup. There's a few that I could recommend, but I'll let Steph do that because she probably knows all of them, and I only know two of them. But they know the difference between a travel advisor role versus a tour operator role. There's a lot of gray areas, and sometimes people who haven't been in the business a long time don't always understand it. I certainly didn't for a long time. So just getting very clear about what you need to do to set your business up to be not only profitable but safe, because you're going to be handling, or you probably already are handling, large sums of other people's money, and you want to put yourself in a place to be safe on that from a business standpoint. And I rattled, I'm sorry, but Steph, Shayna, I'm going to let you guys jump in.
I don't think you rattled at all. That was really helpful. A couple things I'll add to that as resources. So one is our article on accreditation options. Mm-hmm. So you can bet you mentioned IATA, so we'll link to the IATA specific article as well. We have an article on the benefits of using a host agency, and I think that might be helpful as well. A few logistical things. So one, the attorneys that you're talking about, April, will link to an article that we have that lists all the travel industry specific attorneys out there. Perfect. But in terms of like logistical information, Anonymous, it's a little hard to give great advice because I'm not sure the reason why you're leaving your host agency, sure, which is going to be one of the big factors on if you should continue on hosting, if this is just you're not happy with the support they provide, or if you're selling $4 million of fun jet vacations and that's all you're selling, and you've decided, I want to go direct with them, I can get the same amount of commissions and I can get recognition. That's a different story. But some of the things I would think about that are practical matters are, if you go on your own and get your own accreditation, know that there's going to be a lot of more costs associated with that. You may not be having the commission split. I don't know what commission split you're at, but there's going to be the cost of the accreditation. If you have to get seller of travel licensing, and we'll link to our SOT article. Ooh, we're going to have a lot of links on this one. Sorry, Abby. You'll have to pay for the SOT if you're getting E&O insurance or errors and omissions insurance, which we'll link to info on. If you're getting that through your host agency, you'll probably want to get that on your own, which will be an added cost. There's going to be, when you get your own accreditation, most people that are independent will align up with a consortium directly. Mm-hmm. And depending on what your sales are, you might not be able to apply for some consortiums because they require that you have a minimum amount of sales, and not just sales, but of their specific preferred vendors. And if you go onto our consortium list, you can go to the different consortium and it'll say the minimum amount of sales on their profile. So you can check that out, and just know that that's for preferred suppliers only. So if you're booking someone that's not preferred, that doesn't count towards your sales. But yeah, I would say too, what you're going through, this is actually, if someone's going to decide to go out on their own, what we've seen in our research reports is that people are typically doing that around where you are right now, between maybe years 2 and 4. Don't quote me exactly on that, but it's after people get set up but haven't super taken off yet that they start thinking about going on their own. But it's a very small amount. I think it's like less than 1, or it's like 1%. It's single digits that actually end up going from hosted to independent, because that's something we track, because I was kind of interested how long people stay with hosts. So Shayna, any thoughts on it?
I mean, I think you both covered it pretty well. I think the only things I would consider, and I come from the supplier side of things. So when I'm looking at, an independent versus a host, even when I'm looking at commission levels alone, even when you are splitting with your host, the commission levels are night and day when you're independent typically versus what the host has negotiated on behalf of their ICs. And effectively what the host has earned because of the sales volume with that supplier, it is significant. It's not a couple percentage points, I'll tell you now. It's quite a difference. I think for me, one of the biggest things is the network, right? Is all this support around me between the host and the consortium that the host belongs to as well, is that support and knowing. I think the biggest thing is knowing you're not alone when something is, when something is going wrong, that you have the support there of people around you and to learn from them. All the events that go on virtually and in person that you get to be a part of because you're a part of this host network, for me, almost trumps everything else in a weird way, because I like people, but
that helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps. But the support that you have around you to continuously learn, and you're not really on your own. Even though you own your own business, you're not on your own. And I love that aspect of it. You kind of get the best of both worlds in that sense. But again, it's kind of like Steph said, I don't know the context of where you're at. Also recognize that sometimes, you chose a host and that host may not be the right fit for you, right? And that's okay. That's why there's so many wonderful hosts out there that specialize in different things and are built for advisors. So it is okay to say, you know what, this host was not for me, and to go back out there now that you understand and to see maybe one that fits better for you. So
right. And there's different levels of autonomy for contractors within different host agencies. So when we talk to prospects, we say you should be talking to at least 3 to 4 different ones. And if they didn't originally find us on Host Agency Reviews, I make sure that I provide them with a link to the Host Agency Reviews website.
Thank you, April.
Because there's such great content there, and you don't know what you don't know, right? So just understanding, you do have options, and it's important to explore those before you, commit to something.
Yeah. And Anonymous, if you want to send us a little more context on why you're leaving your host agency, we'd be happy to work with you more closely and chat with you on it. So feel free to drop us a note. Let's see. We got to wrap things up. So April, we are going to link to, of course, your profile on Host Agency Reviews if people are interested in learning more about Uniglobe and reading your reviews. Is there anywhere else you want people to check out, ways to contact you?
So our website is a great resource, uniglobetravelcenter.com. It's going to have pages where you can explore each of the programs that we offer. But then on the contact page, there's a direct link to my business calendar. So if you wanted to schedule time so that we don't play phone tag and we can talk and have undivided attention on one another, then that's the best place. And then, of course, I think that same link is on our profile page on Host Agency Reviews as well. So
Perfect. Well, those diehard fans out there, and I'm pretty sure there are at least one. My dad. Hi, Dad. Next week, we have on Dugan's Travels on March 14th. So tune in for that. We'll have Jennifer on. March 21st, we are going to have a first timer, which is very exciting. We are having Global Travel Collection. So join us for that. And then the following week after that, on March 28th, we will be having Sheila with Travel Industry Solutions, which is a tech provider in the industry. So make sure to tune in that. You can sign up for alerts, text messages, emails, when the Friday 15 is coming out, who's going to be our co-host, what the questions are, by going again to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15. And last thing to mention, if you like the Friday 15 and you've been tuning in for a while, we would love and very much appreciate if you took the time to, if you're listening to it on the podcast version, leave a review or give it a rating. Or if you're watching on YouTube, if you can give this a thumbs up, as we're trying to spread the good word of the Friday 15. So that is all. April, thanks for joining us. Shayna, thanks for joining us too.
I love having a third person. It was awesome.
I know, super great.
I really enjoyed myself. What a way to end my day, or I guess middle of the day. But yes,
I was going to say, well, no, it's later. Are you on East Coast time? I'm on East Coast time.
I'm on East Coast time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, not yet.
Well, we will see you all next Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye, everybody.